This is the series where I give my subjective, spoiler-free review on a TV show or movie that I'm going to be reviewing to help you decide if it's going to be worth it. So let's take a look at the entirety of WandaVision that just completed its run on Disney+. In this video, I do not plan to go into any spoilers or into any deep specifics into the TV show. However, I do want to note there's some things I want to vaguely touch on so I can give a proper review of the series. So if you want to go in completely blind knowing nothing about WandaVision, well then you're always welcome to come back after you finish the series. Enjoy this video at any point at all, make sure to smash the like button, smash the comments, smash the subscribe button, and then when you're at the hospital because your hands are throbbing from all the smashing you've been doing, make sure to tell those nurses and doctors that just Chris Ouch sent you here to spread the good word of my channel. So WandaVision, a 9-episode series found in Disney Plus that follows, well, you guessed it, Wanda and Vision. But the twist is that in each episode, we are finding ourselves in a new decade in a classic sitcom. At least that's how it starts. So WandaVision, you know them, you love them, and one of them is supposed to be dead, but now they're married in suburban 1950s? But in this show, it's your job as a viewer to sit back, relax, watch the show that's arguably sometimes slow, but arguably also super wild-wide, to understand what the heck is going on. So first off, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda and Paul Bettany as Vision are awesome, great in the show. I think in this show alone, they've solidified themselves as the big actors within the MCU and big actors within 2021. Paul Bettany's run as Vision this time around is funny, charming, clever, and for a robot, jacked as hell. I mean, Paul Bettany got his start in the MCU as Jarvis from Iron Man 1, then playing Vision in Age of Ultron, the second Avengers movie, and now this time as Vision. God, I really love him. It's great to see him in this kind of stuff. He does it so well, and he's such a great presence on the show. But in the last Avengers movie, Vision was dead. So seeing him in this show is a surprise, but a welcome one. But I think the real show stealer has to be Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, because she is a chameleon. She owns every scene and emotion that is on display. She's likable, she's vulnerable, she's scary, she's threatening, and she is downright powerful. So, did I find this story interesting? Well, the intrigue is there for sure. If you watch the most recent Avenger movies, then you know this isn't the last place we left our characters. And I want to say that I think if you're a fan of the Marvel movies, you're going to be a fan of this show as well. How much you love or like it is going to depend on each viewer. I think my biggest issue with the story was the first 2 episodes of this TV show. These episodes focus on the funny 1950s, 1960s, comedic dilemmas that don't push the plot forward whatsoever of this TV show. So for me, a little too slow. The first 2 episodes I can only classify as boring. But by episode 3 things picked up and I was in. I mean, let's face it, it's Marvel. I'm not gonna stop watching. Unless it's complete trash, but it's not. So let's address the comedy of the series for a second. I grew up in the early 2000s. So sitcoms like back in the 1990s and early 2000s are something that I enjoyed and grew up watching. So when Wanda and Vision were parodying these 1990s, early 2000s and contemporary comedy shows, I was super in. It was really good. And having said that, I thought the 1950s, 1960s, maybe it's just not my cup of tea. They were so authentic, so well done, I just thought it was boring. I mean, the later episodes I found myself laughing because they're more contemporary kind of comedy, but the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s stuff even too, were all just kind of didn't make me laugh. Maybe it's just a taste preference. I mean, maybe I'm just not a fan of these old style sitcoms. But I gotta hand it to the showrunners though of this TV show because they really paid great amount of detail into each specific era they were trying to portray. But it also goes to say that I felt like the showrunners prioritized too much of the authenticity of these TV shows that they forgot to and really held back on addressing questions that the viewer would have or myself would have. Like, why is Vision alive? How did he come back? I mean, I think like most people, I went into the show having these questions and they do answer them, they do address them later in the series, but I just felt like at times they took their sweet time, and maybe that's just because they release an episode a week. If you binge it now, which you will, everything's on Disney Plus now, so you can just go watch it. I think this will be less of an issue, but as a person who was watching it week by week, it was kind of frustrating those first few weeks where, it was great to see these characters. It was great to, get more Marvel stuff. But it was also frustrating at times because the episode will end. It's like, man, I felt like I learned nothing. I felt like they addressed nothing. It was just a sitcom. But what this show really worked for me when I felt like they delved into more of Wanda's psyche and kind of played with the idea that maybe some of our heroes aren't doing such heroic things, and what they do have more of a negative impact on the people around them than they do have a positive impact. I mean, having these ethical dilemmas to me are always intriguing. It's very interesting to see how our characters deal with the consequences of those actions. I love it when a character does something and you see them have to face and deal with the consequences of their actions. It's very real world like. For me, it makes these characters so relatable. Because every day in real life, if I were to do something to another person, I will feel those repercussions, whether they are positive or they are negative. And so I love it when characters in a movie or TV show have to deal and address their actions, their consequences of their actions, right? Another thing I also really liked about the show were the characters that they had. Obviously, Wanda and Vision, they're great. But other side characters like Jimmy Woo and Darcy, Monica Rambeau, I love these guys. I like them. They're cool. I can't wait to see them more in the MCU. Angie's is cool too. And also there's a pair of kids, I don't want to say who they are specifically, but there's a pair of kids in the show that I dug. Usually child actors are kind of annoying. These guys were not. I love them. They're great. That's all I'll say. But going back to a little bit of Monica Rambeau, I mean, we kind of see her origin story here. She is cool, and she's going to be in Captain Marvel too, so I'm super excited to see her return in the MCU as her character. And the reason why I think these characters are so likable is that their writing is pretty decent, but the portrayals of these characters, I mean, the actors, they're phenomenal. Some of these actors, like the person for Angie's, she hit all the notes that she wanted to hit in this series. Marvel, I think, typically does a pretty good job casting their heroes and their villains, their characters and whatnot. There's never really much of a miss, and I think that still applies in WandaVision. The casting, great. I love these guys. I mean, I can't wait to see them more. I think that's the huge strength about Marvel stuff, is that you'll meet people in this series and then you'll see them in a totally different movie or TV series, not expecting them to show up, and they're there and you're like, wow, I like this. This is cool. One character I want to say that did disappoint me was Hayward, because what are his motivations? I mean, you'll notice pretty early on, once you start watching this show, that this guy is just a straight up dick for like no reason. Like, I feel like in the writers' rooms of WandaVision, they're kind of like, they were so busy writing the story, with Wanda and what's going on in this weird ass universe, that they looked at some characters as like, generic storyline, doesn't matter. Like, there's Hayward and another character that I felt like they didn't utilize them to the best of their abilities, and they're maybe a little underwritten or underdeveloped. I mean, that's why I wish we kind of spent less time in the sitcom world and more in the, character development world, understanding their motivations, their psyche. I mean, when we watched the trailers for WandaVision before the series came out, you knew there was going to be sitcom. I knew there was going to be, some sitcom elements in there, of course. But it also gave the vibe that it was going to be like kind of Twin Peakish. It's going to be a little dark, a little scary, mysterious, maybe a little bit of horror in there. But that is true for like a very small percentage of the show. I still enjoy the show. I just didn't think it didn't meet my personal expectations, and maybe mine were just too high. So let's take note of the soundtrack. The soundtrack or score of a TV show or film, I think, is incredibly important, because they could make an already really good TV show or movie and elevate its game to like tenfold. Heck, it can even take a bad movie and make it good and memorable. Take the Star Wars prequel movies, for instance. They're bad movies. They suck. But what doesn't suck about them is John Williams scores that accompanies each scene and battle scene that are found in the prequel. Like in Revenge of the Sith, even though Anakin's portrayal is kind of the score, the music, you really feel the torment of his poor soul. Anakin and Padme, you really feel the love blossom through the music, even though their on-screen chemistry is complete garbage. So going back to WandaVision, it was kind of expected that their soundtracks are kind of like, they're fine, they're serviceable. Nothing of real note. Usually I enjoy a TV show or movie more if I care to go back on Spotify and listen to their soundtrack as I do anything else. But with this show, it's okay. It did its job. It did its job. That's all I can say about that. It didn't elevate his game. It didn't hurt it, but it didn't elevate his game either. It was just serviceable. One thing I think WandaVision did do really, really well, and that was make us really attached to Wanda and Vision much more than we did in the past. I mean, I already kind of liked them a lot from Infinity War, but now after watching this show, they're like top tier characters within the MCU. For sure. And that's a great thing, because now I'm super excited to see where our characters within this show, that includes Jimmy Woo, Monica Rambeau, Wanda, all the other characters that we saw, what their stories are going to be like in the future of the MCU in other movies. Like Wanda, for instance, is going to be in Doctor Strange 2. I am super excited to see her character, you know, from everything that happened in this series, those consequences, carry over into the next movie and see her story kind of continue. I think it's great. I think it's so much fun. Overall, though, I think this show, it's a ton of fun. If you're a Marvel fan, you'll like it. Just depending on maybe your expectations. Some will love it, some will just like it, or maybe it's just not your cup of tea. But I don't think anyone's gonna really hate this show. There's not too much to hate at all. Actually, there's a lot of things to really enjoy actually in this TV show. So that being said, let me give my rating. It's 7 out of 10. It was okay. I liked it. It didn't rock my world, let's say The Mandalorian Season 2 did late last year, but it was great, and I'm super excited. It's more Marvel. It makes me excited for the future Marvel projects, so it did its job for me. Have a good one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe down below. See ya. Boom. So, WandaVision. Did you see it? Do you like it? Or do you hate it? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll love to talk about it more with you guys down there. See ya.